My name is Caroline Whitman, and for years, I thought I was living a fairy tale. At 38, I was a published author living in a Manhattan brownstone with my husband, Mark, a financial consultant whose voice could unravel my worst days in seconds. There was something in the way he said my name, slow, soft, like a promise he'd never break. Mornings began with forehead kisses and coffee made just the way I liked it. Nights ended with him whispering that I was his whole world, and I believed him until everything changed. It was just past midnight when I woke up to an empty bed. I assumed Mark had gone downstairs for a snack or maybe to check his phone. I rolled over, expecting to fall back asleep. Then I heard his voice, low, measured, coming from his home office. "She still doesn't suspect a thing," he said. I froze, my breath caught. The room suddenly felt too small, too quiet. Everything's going as planned, almost done. I sat up, heart hammering in my chest. Carefully, I slipped out of bed and crept toward the hallway, pressing myself against the wall beside his office. A sliver of light spilled from the cracked door. I couldn't hear the rest, but I didn't need to. I'd heard enough. I went back to bed and lay perfectly still, pretending to be asleep when Mark returned minutes later. He slipped under the covers like nothing had happened, like he hadn't just fractured my world with a single sentence. I didn't sleep a second that night. I stared at the ceiling, my mind spinning. I didn't know what he was planning, but I knew it involved me. The next morning, I moved through the kitchen like a ghost. Mark was still asleep upstairs, breathing steady and slow. My hands trembled as I reached for my phone. Until that moment, I'd never once looked into our finances. Mark handled it all. Bills, savings, investments. I trusted him. I thought that was love. But trust, I was learning, could be the first step toward losing everything. I opened the banking app, and my blood ran cold. Transaction after transaction, $500, $1,000, $2,000, dozens of withdrawals, all over the past 3 months, none of them huge on their own, but together, they formed a pattern, a dangerous one. I gripped the edge of the counter to keep from falling apart. Then I heard him behind me. "Checking the account this early?" Mark's voice was light, casual, but I saw the flicker of surprise in his eyes as he leaned in the doorway. "Just curious," I said, forcing a smile. Some of these charges looked unfamiliar. He walked over, poured himself a cup of coffee, and gave me that easy, practiced grin. "Oh, those? A few small investments. I must have forgotten to tell you." He didn't meet my eyes. Something inside me shifted, not anger, something colder, sharper, focused. I nodded, pretending to accept his answer, but I was watching him now, every gesture, every word, through a new lens. I no longer saw my husband. I saw a stranger in a familiar skin. That night, I noticed more. He kept his phone close, always face down, took calls in the other room, and when I asked what he was working on, he'd say, "Just business, nothing to worry about." But I was worried, and I wasn't going to sit in the dark and wait for the truth to crush me. 2 days later, my opportunity came. It was a quiet evening. Mark had just finished dinner and said he was going to shower. Normally, his phone never left his side, but this time, he left it on the table. My heart pounded. I waited 30 seconds, then 60. I heard the water running upstairs. The phone was unlocked. I scrolled through messages, fingers trembling. Most were innocent, work notes, casual chats. Then I saw it, a thread with no name, just a number. The latest message read, "Send her the Ilium files, just make sure she stays in the dark. Almost done." I froze. I read it again, and again. Ilium files, make sure she stays in the dark. Was I her? What files? What was he sending, and to whom? I placed the phone back exactly as I found it and walked to the kitchen. I splashed cold water on my face and tried to breathe. Upstairs, the water still ran. I had a few more minutes, but the damage was already done. Mark wasn't just lying. He wasn't just hiding something. He was planning something. And I was the target. Later that night, he slipped into bed and kissed my forehead like always. "You okay?" he asked, voice low and warm. I gave a small smile, just tired. Inside, I was screaming. Mark had no idea I'd seen the message. He still thought I was in the dark. That was his mistake, and I planned to use it. The moment he left for work the next morning, I called Anna. Anna Prescott wasn't just my best friend from college, she was one of the sharpest estate attorneys in the city. We'd reconnected over coffee last summer after years apart. I never imagined this was the call I'd be making. When she picked up, I didn't waste time. My voice trembled as I told her everything: Mark's deception, the hidden withdrawals, the cryptic message about the Ilium files. She didn't interrupt, she only asked one question. How much money are we talking about? Close to 500 million, I said. Silence. Then, her voice came back, calm, focused, no hesitation. Caroline, we need to move your assets, today. My legs gave out, I sank onto the edge of the couch. Are you sure? Yes, if you wait, he'll act first. We'll transfer your estate into a private trust, airtight, protected, he won't touch a cent. My heart pounded. Everything I'd built, the apartment, the royalties, the investments, was now a battlefield. I'm in, I whispered. What followed was a blur: 72 hours of nonstop paperwork, legal calls, rapid-fire decisions. Anna didn't flinch. She pulled in her team. We retitled the apartment, locked down the investment accounts, and placed every asset under legal protection, mine alone. By the third evening, when Mark walked through the door carrying Thai takeout, the war had already shifted. The fortress was up. He just didn't know it yet. Pad CEW and green curry, he said with a grin. Thought you could use a treat. I took the bag from his hands, nodded, smiled. He had no idea the ground beneath him had changed. Let him think I was still asleep. Let him make the next move. Because this time, I was ready. 4 days later, he did. It was a Friday evening. Mark came home earlier than usual, dressed in a sleek navy suit, calm, almost smug. He placed his briefcase on the table and slid a folder across to me. We need to talk, he said. I opened the folder without a word. Inside were divorce papers. I think this is for the best, he said smoothly. We've grown apart. I'd rather handle this cleanly. I met his gaze, blank, unshaken. Really? A flicker of hesitation crossed his face, just a blink, but I saw it. Yes, he said, trying to reassert control. It's better this way. I slid the folder back to him. Before we go any further, I said, voice calm and even, there's something you should know. His brow furrowed. What is it? I've already moved everything. Silence. He blinked. What? The apartment, the accounts, my royalties. It's all in a protected trust. You can't touch a thing. His face went pale. What do you mean? I said coolly, you don't get to hand me divorce papers and walk away with half my life. His jaw clenched. He gripped the folder tighter. You can't do that. I already did. He stared at me, searching for fear, for doubt. He found none. You were right about one thing, I added, standing. Life is unpredictable. He pushed away from the table, fury simmering just below the surface. We'll see each other in court, he snapped. I smiled. Then go ahead, try. He walked out, and for the first time in weeks, I exhaled. But I was wrong to think it was over. 3 days later, the whispers began. At first, it was small things, quiet conversations that stopped when I walked by, sidelong glances from colleagues. People who usually greeted me with warmth now barely met my eyes. It wasn't in my head, it was too coordinated. Then Rachel, my assistant, stepped into my office. Her face was pale, lips pressed tight. She handed me a printout. I think you should see this. It was a screenshot from an anonymous forum. The post title read, CFO hides funds during divorce using company money. Below it was a vague accusation of financial misconduct, embezzlement during a divorce proceeding. The comments were worse. I know who it is, Caroline Whitman, look into her. My breath left me, my vision tunneled. Mark, I whispered, he did this. Rachel nodded. If this gets traction, it could damage your reputation, or worse. I stood, pacing, my chest tightened with rage. I'd spent years building my name, my credibility, no shortcuts, no scandals. Now one lie threatened to undo all of it. I need to call Anna. That evening, I sat in her office, my voice shaking as I explained everything, the post, the rumors, the cold stares. She listened, her expression hardening. This isn't just personal anymore, I said. He's trying to destroy me professionally. Anna leaned back, thoughtful, her fingers steepled. He's trying to rattle you, pressure you into settling. This is strategy. I met her gaze. Then he picked the wrong target. She nodded, already pulling up a document on her screen. First move, a cease and desist. If he pushes further, We go public, with a defamation lawsuit and reputational damages claim, loud and fast. A spark of hope lit in my chest. He thought he could break me with whispers and lies. But he was about to find out, I'm louder. But Mark had underestimated one thing. I wasn't afraid of the truth. And I wasn't going anywhere. Just when I thought I had seen the worst of him, he went even lower. 3 days later, Anna called me into her office. Her voice was clipped, serious. He just filed a lawsuit, she said the moment I walked in. He's accusing you of financial fraud. My heart dropped. What? He's claiming you illegally moved marital assets. He's alleging embezzlement from your joint accounts. I collapsed into the chair across from her. He can't be serious. He is. And there's more, Anna said, sliding a file across her desk. He filed with a co-plaintiff. I opened it, and the name hit like a punch to the gut. Elamaro. The name from the message I'd read on Mark's phone. Who is he? I asked. Anna folded her arms. A known fraudster, tied to multiple schemes involving forged documents, never convicted, but plenty of smoke. I flipped through the documents, filled with forged signatures, falsified transactions, doctored numbers. These aren't mine, I said, anger rising in my throat. This is all fabricated. We know, she said, but now we have to prove it, fast. All the fear I'd been carrying crystallized into something sharper. Resolve. He's trying to bury me in lies. Anna's eyes narrowed. Then we make sure those lies collapse on him. We hired a forensic finance team the next morning. For the next 7 days, we barely slept, cross-checking statements, authenticating timelines, tracing every transaction. The deeper we dug, the clearer it became. The trail led straight back to Alamaro's firm. The signatures didn't match. The dates didn't line up. And most importantly, not 1 cent connected to my actual accounts. Mark had thrown everything at me. But the truth was bulletproof. A month later, we walked into court. Anna was calm, focused. I sat beside her in navy, posture steady, voice ready. Across from us, Mark looked like a man unraveling, twitchy, thin-lipped, alone. The judge took her time. Our case was airtight. Elamaro never even showed. When the ruling was read, I didn't cry, I didn't even smile. I closed my eyes, not from relief, but from resolution. The court dismissed all charges. Mark was denied access to my trust. His smear campaign backfired. And instead of gaining anything, he was ordered to pay my legal fees. After the hearing, he tried to approach me in the hallway. You didn't have to do this, he said quietly. I looked him in the eyes. No, Mark, you didn't have to do this. Then I walked away, for good. In the weeks that followed, I pieced my life back together, carefully, deliberately. I returned to writing. Took long walks in Central Park. Let the quiet in. I didn't celebrate, I reflected. Because victory doesn't always feel like joy. Sometimes, it feels like silence after chaos. Like the first breath after coming up for air. Like peace. I learned something through all of this. Something every woman, every person, should know. Trust is a gift, but control over your life is a right. No matter how loving someone seems, never hand over your power blindly. Know your worth. Protect your future. Act before it's too late. And if someone tries to break you with betrayal, stand. Stand, and let the truth be louder than revenge. If you're still reading, thank you. And if this story resonated, share it. Comment. Let someone else know they're not alone. Because strength isn't just surviving the storm. It's learning how to own the sky afterward.